Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Canadian Electricity Association's Conversation webinar series. The Canadian Electricity Association is the voice of the electricity industry in Canada. My name is Alex Kent. I am a manager of regulatory affairs and grid infrastructure at CEA, and I am pleased to be your host for today's webinar. The Conversation series features presentations from CEA's corporate partners and highlights a variety of Canadian and international solutions to current and future challenges faced by the industry. Working with CEA's corporate partners, these webinars have been developed to be of specific interest to those working in the electric utility space, from generation on through to the customer. For a complete list of the upcoming sessions, please check out CEA's website at www.electricity.ca. These webinars allow a broad national audience to participate at no or low cost without the need to travel or invest a lot of time. We are broadcasting today from Ottawa to over 10 locations across Canada. And before we get started, there are a few housekeeping items. Our session is scheduled to run from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern Time sharp. Questions can be asked at any time, and we encourage you to do so as they come to mind by typing them into the chat function on your screen. They will be answered at the end of the presentation. Please set your devices to mute. And a brief survey will be sent to webinar participants following the session today. We very much appreciate your candid feedback and are interested in any topics you would like to have included in the conversation series. Please keep an eye out for future webinars and events through CEA's monthly newsletter, Current Affairs. With over 6,000 subscribers, Current Affairs is the place to go for Canadian industry news as we connect the national value chain from generation on through to the customer. If you would like to receive Current Affairs, you can subscribe to this free publication via CEA's website. Again, that's www.electricity.ca. Today's topic is Digitalization, a new era in calibration, presented by Beamex Calibration Solutions. So you've probably heard of terms such as digitalization, Industry 4.0, and smart factories, but what do they really mean? Whether on television, newspaper, social media, hardly a day goes by without some kind of futuristic topic being discussed. Digitalization, big data, artificial intelligence, machine learning, but hasn't the future already arrived? What does your work environment look like? Are you still working with outdated technologies? Join us and let us bring you closer to these topics and understand the new era in calibration. From Beamex, we have the president, Tom Sontag, who will be leading you through today's presentation. Over to you, Tom.
Hello everyone. Thank you, Alex. It's a pleasure to be here today and present a little bit about digitalization and more likely, from the eyes of the calibration point of view. So really, the topic of the day today is it's digitalization and about the calibration. I'm sure you know about calibration a little bit, but we tend to focus a little bit more on the big picture here and not go into so many details, but I think we can take some details during the Q&A later on. But first, a little bit about the calibration in general. I mean, we live in challenging times, and the world around us has changed, and it will change even more. This will have a long-term impact on our lives, and we don't really know where this will take us. But one thing we do know is that without digitalization, all of this would have been so much harder. Just imagine working remotely or stay connected with your loved ones without the tools that we have today. All these teams, Zoom and go to webinar meetings, it would have been more of a disaster than it's today. I recently traveled, in fact, from Canada to UK, and before even entering the plane and boarding the plane, you had to fill in all kinds of forms who you are, where you are staying, where will you go, and exact details on the flight numbers and everything. So and all these forms were digital. You had to fill them in online and send them over and get feedback back in your phone and be able to present them when you come into the border and immigration. So that would not be possible today without digitalization. So I mean, we have a lot of other topics also in all kinds of webinars, all over. It has been mentioned many times, and digitalization is one big topic, and it will play a massive role in this new normal that we are living in. Digitalization, however, is not a new thing, and we at Beamex, we have been doing this since the 80s when we launched the first documenting calibrator together with calibration software to manage it all in a very efficient way. Beamex is a technology and service company that develops, manufactures, and markets high quality calibration equipment, software, systems, and services for the calibration and maintenance of process instruments. Beamex focuses 100% on calibration and has provided calibration solutions since 1975. Here you see, the four founders of the corporation and Beamex, sitting together and really trying to figure out how we can do calibration in a better way. We have more than 12,000 customers worldwide in more than 140 countries, and we work directly with our own offices and with strategic partners to cover all of the global markets. Our customers come from all industry segments: oil and gas, life science, petrochemical and chemical, and power and energy, just to mention a few of these segments we work in. Beamex has been in Canada for years now, but we have been working with distributors and partners, and also through our US office that we have in Atlanta. But since last year, we are here with our own direct office to better serve our clients towards a better way to calibrate. A better way to calibrate. I mean, I can shortly say that that's done by digitalization, or should I say digitization, or even digitize. I mean, these are difficult words to even pronounce, but they mean a little bit different depending on how you use them. So let's dive into those words a bit. If you Google, for example, digitization, you will get something like the process of converting information into a digital format. No surprises there. But if you then Google digitalization, you get the conversion of text, picture, or sound into a digital format that can be processed by a computer. Same thing, but a little bit different. This is describing the same thing, changing something analog to a digital format. That, however, is not the entire truth. We need to take this a little further. I looked in the SAP news, and there someone said that digitalization moves beyond digitization by leveraging digital information technologies to entirely transform a business process. So if we summarize this, you can scan a document. That's more like digitization, or make something digital. So you take a part that is either analog from before or done in an analog way, and you make it digital. But to leverage digital technology to transform how your business runs, that's more digitalization. So in other words, you can digitize a document, but you digitalize an entire factory. Many decades back, when we launched the first calibration management software, to keep track of whatever calibration you're doing, it was designed for technicians and maintenance managers. It still is, so don't get me wrong there, but it was, things were not that complicated then. You installed it on one computer and had a hardware key to access the software. It was a simple installation, and you didn't need any big IT investments or servers or quality approvals. You had your system up and running in no time, so it was quick and easy. Then followed steps to include more advanced functionality, multiple users, both nationally and globally, central installations at headquarters, and with global access to wherever the users are. It got more challenging to take a system into use, and you needed to involve IT, quality, security, and even third-party consultants to get everything set up and to maintain it. In many cases, this is still the reality in many industries out there. But however, there are systems out there today that has taken this to another level, a level where the software is provided to you as a service. I mean, you don't have any footprint on your premises. You don't have any big IT investments. No need for multi-site approvals, etc., etc. I mean, the systems are subscription based, and you only pay to get access to them. You simply leave the software deployment, database maintenance, the validation, and the IT infrastructure to your professional service provider. It feels like the circle is complete in a way. I mean, thanks to digitalization, we have gone back in history where the solution can be easily provided and used by the users, the technicians, and the maintenance managers. So regardless of where you are on the level of digitalization, a calibration system can be digitalized and taken into use by 3 simple steps. The first step is the calibration. I mean, the standard itself that you compare everything to. The second step is to take into use a calibration management software that then, documents everything and you can analyze everything. The third step is to take into use these overall, maintenance management software like the SAP and the Maximo and the Inforce, where you normally make the scheduling or the planning. So these are the 3 big steps. So if we then dive into this first step a little bit, this is the step where everybody is using. I mean, as soon as you have to do some sort of calibration, you have to have some kind of standard or references or calibration. Because we used to say that calibration is measuring a value and comparing it to a reference. So you have these references, standards, or calibrators. They can be called by many names. In this step, there is also room for digitalization. So when performing a calibration, you may need many different tools like a multimeter or a decade box, a communicator to communicate with smart instruments like HART or Foundation Field Bus or Profibus PA. You might also need a function generator, a data logger, and of course a calibrator. A lot of tools to carry with you out in the field. Or you can have everything integrated into one combined multifunctional calibrator. So you save time by not having to purchase many tools. You carry less when you go out in the field. Maybe stand on a ladder somewhere, and instead of having 3-4 different tools hanging on your shoulders, you have only one tool that you can operate then easily and safely. And of course, you also save money when you need to maintenance these tools. I mean, you have to send them back eventually and perform service on them. And when it comes to calibrators, you have to recalibrate them also recommendedly every year. You can also have calibrators communicating and controlling pressure controllers. So instead of having to manually pump these pressures by using hand pumps, you can have a pressure controller and a calibrator communicating with each other. So you get a fully automated calibration. You can also have the same communication with temperature blocks. So here again, you have the calibrator to communicate with the temperature block and set the desired temperature when you go up these calibration points, from 0% to 50 and up to 100 and down again. So the calibrator will communicate that and do it for you. Also, human errors is a big factor here in this step one. I mean, in many cases, you are on pen and paper. And when you use pen and paper, it might be that you type in numbers like this, and here you see that, okay, it's 50.1 something 4. You don't really know that is it a 3, or is it nothing, or is it an 8? And here okay, is it a pass or even a fail here? So there are a lot of questions when you do things, should I say, in the analog way. I mean, there are some human errors involved in the process. But if you digitalize this step, not the whole solution, but this single step, there's no question that this analog number here that is written down is 50.14 instead of something else, and you also clearly see that this is a passed or a failed calibration. If we then go to step number 2, and that was about taking calibration management software into use. Regardless of whether this is a on-premises software that is installed on your servers or standalone computers in a workshop, or if it's then up in the cloud through this software as a service and subscription based, it always allows you to manage and document and analyze the calibrations in a very efficient way. In this software or this step, you set up the what, I mean, what kind of instrument you are calibrating. You are also setting up the where, so where are these instruments. You can make plant structures and divide them into different structures to easily find them. And of course, the most important thing is how. I mean, you set up procedures how to calibrate these. So regardless of who is performing the calibration, they are always calibrated in the same way, in the exact same way. The beauty of a system like this is when you have seamless communication with the calibrators and the software. So when you as a technician have some job to do, you just select the work order or the instrument that is due for calibration, and you download everything to the calibrator. You take the calibrator with you out in the field and you do your job, and then come back and upload everything back to the system, and everything is done. So the calibrator is documenting your job in the background, and all the data is in the calibrator, but you have a small calibrator that you can drop, you know, from 5 meters up on a ladder or something like that. So it's normally only a temporary storage, but when you upload it to a computer and you have, you know, large screens and, you know, keyboards and everything, you can analyze and make all kinds of reports and do history trending and things like that, and you will see those error calculations and pass or failed, and you can even print certificates and look at the data, and everything is documented for you there. And if you need to show your auditors or show that you are compliant, you don't have a certificate to show, you can show them why you are compliant, and really show whoever is checking the plant. We still have one final step to take, which is then of course the step 3 here. But before we go there, these 2 steps, I mean the calibrator itself and also the software to analyze and to manage everything, these are the major part of the calibration solution. And this one has, you know, it has improved your efficiency of the whole process, and it has saved a lot of time and of course then also money. It has improved the quality of the calibration result and avoided, not eliminated, but you avoid and make less human mistakes. It has ensured the integrity of the calibration data and saved data that you really can trust. So if you have a digitalized solution in place, you cannot go and you know, edit the data or manipulate the data in any way. So it's secure from everything from you hook up the instrument to the calibrator, and it's uploaded into the database and backed up. So during that whole process, it cannot be manipulated, and you really can trust the data. So the data integrity is really a good key here. So before going to the third step here is I'm gonna show you a video here, and hopefully this will start. Yeah.
Today I'm going to talk about the Beamex integrated calibration solution. In order to do that, we need to consider 3 main components: people, technology, and process. They all interact together and must be considered. Let's start with people. Let's give them better tools. Calibration technicians will typically need a multimeter, a pressure measurement gauge, perhaps a decade box, and a communication protocol such as HART, Foundation Field Bus, or Profibus. Let's integrate all of those tools into one single piece of equipment: Beamex MC6 multifunctional calibrator communicator. This is a very efficient way to work, standardized on a single tool. It's very safe. Let's take that a step further. Let's integrate that MC6 with other field equipment that technician needs, perhaps temperature dry blocks, pressure output controllers. Now we have a very high level of automation. Next step of integration, let's integrate the field equipment with an electronic database, Beamex CMX. We can digitize all of our processes, all of our calibration management information into a single database, and now we can communicate up and down to the multifunctional equipment. This way we've digitized all of our processes, all of our workflows. We've leveraged technology, process, and people together. Take that a step further, let's integrate that calibration management system with our enterprise asset management systems, the SAPs and the Maximos out there. Now our work orders generated out of those systems can flow to the calibration management database, out to the field equipment where the work is done, back through the process, and close out that work order automatically. If you'd like to know more about the Beamex integrated calibration solution, call Beamex today.
All right, so let's get back to the presentation here. And what you just saw is a short summary of all these 3 steps. And in this presentation, we still have one step to go through. And this step is then for maybe larger enterprises having system like SAP, Maximo, or Infor in place. So these systems normally take care of the scheduling of the maintenance, including calibrations, and make the work orders. So without step 3, work orders would be manually sent to the techs, either by sending them an email or print it on a paper and then hand that paper over to the techs for them to know what to do. And if we then digitalize also this 3rd step, I mean this function from the SAPs or the Maximos or whatever system is in use, and we combine these systems together with the calibration management software, you would have something like this. So you would have the scheduling or the planning still made in the SAPs, and then when the work order is released, including the due date and the work ordering number, and also maybe who should do it and what kind of instrument should be calibrated. This is then automatically transferred to the calibration management software. The instrument tech would then log into the calibration management software and select that work order and those instruments that are related to that work order. And he would just download that to the calibrator. He would only take the calibrator with him and go offline out in the field. And then he is performing the job according to the procedures and the work order that was just sent to him. And once the job is done, he would then upload all the data back into the calibration software management system. And once that is then done, all the detailed data in the calibration management software would stay there, and only the summary of the calibration is sent back to the SAP here, or the MMS system. It would be again just a summary, who did the calibration, how long did it take, was it passed or failed, and just overall information. And then that work order would be complete, and next scheduling cycle would be ready to take into use. So if we then look at those 3 steps again, it's all about, I'm just going to take the laser pointer here. So first of all, it's the calibrators. I mean, this is the standard that you compare all your measured values with. And then in this step 2 here, you document everything, you analyze everything, or you make those reports or calibration certificates if needed. And then you can also take this 3rd step into use, where everything is scheduled and planned, and you only send simple information between these 2 systems, and the real data is stored and backed up in this system. So I think we are going into the questions and answers here, and I think you should use that chat window a little bit and type in your questions here, and let's take it from there.
Thank you, Tom, and you stole my thunder. So yeah, that's where the questions go. I've got the first one here. Just to get the flow starting, and anyone else, please feel free to send in your questions as they come to you. So throughout your presentation, you've talked about bringing everything together, bringing field text devices together into one place, bringing the information together into one place through the centralized database system. So, like, could you provide a real-world example of how this has benefited industry, any industry? So just like we're, of course, the electric industry, so if you could tend toward that, that would be great, but just a real-world example of how this has improved efficiencies and other benefits potentially of the digitalization of calibrations.
Yeah, I can, you know, we have done with several clients, also in the power and energy sector. We have done real, let's say, examples where we have measured the time used for calibration. So one example, let's say the calibration done by a technician using a manual system, it would take 110 minutes. And when I say manual, it means that you have step one already in place. So you have the calibrators, but you don't necessarily have any software to document everything, and you don't have the automation within those work orders and stuff like that. So when you go then to a fully automated calibration solution, again from a manual calibration to a fully automated one, and you have then, you know, split that time in half. So 45 minutes more or less was the time then after taking a solution like this into place. And I mean that's a lot of time, and when you really start calculating what time is worth, I mean the labor cost and of course also the increase in the efficiency and eliminating, or let's say minimizing, the human errors. It's a system that you know, the return of the investment is really paid back in 1 or 2 years.
So that's a pretty good return on investment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, everyone is on the line, and you are welcome to add some questions. I have one more myself. So to come at it from the other side, does this create one point of failure though? If there's the different machines that are come together into one device, and this device must communicate with the central database. So how does your equipment avoid being the one point of failure for the entire operation?
I think the answer to that is that you have to take care of your standards and calibrators in the same way you take care of your instruments. I mean, keeping those instruments up to date will ensure that the end product is the best it can be. And you have also to take care of your calibrators. So you send those in for recalibration and service, and what we could offer, for example, is something we call a care plan. So you know, by providing us with a small fee, we'll take care of those units for you. You send them in when you see that there's something wrong with them, and you have a fast turnaround, and we you know, keep them up to date. We update the firmware, and we keep the communicator DDs inside up to date, and we keep our clients with tools that can be, you know, relied on and are up to date.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Let's see. Well, course, there's the question of how can any of the audience members get more information on a better way to calibrate the Beamex solutions?
I think that we have put a lot of time and effort on developing our website. We believe in educational marketing, so we have a lot of videos, we have a lot of white papers and case stories. So you just simply go to beamex.com and you look there and you will find a lot of good material that can help you get on your way to digitalize your calibration solution.
Perfect. And you will see, audience members, in the chat, the URL for Beamex has been put into the chat window. So of course, please feel free to click through. Last call on questions from the audience. Okay, I'm not seeing any more come in. Thank you for your time, Tom. Great presentation. We love the visuals. And thank you for letting us know a little bit more about the evolution of software and hardware in the calibration space and how it can improve the Canadian electrical utility industry.
Thank you.
So we'll now be closing off today's webinar, but before we go, please mark your calendars. Our next conversation series webinars will be held on December 3rd, which the topic is grid resiliency, presented by Siemens. And on December 8th, we have arc resistant switchgear presented by Powell Industries. If you haven't registered yet, you can do so by going to the CEA's website, www.electricity.ca. And I would like to thank you again, Tom, and all the CEA staff that helped put this together. This concludes today's webinar. Bye for now.